Hello everyone, it's Jin'taan and welcome back to another episode of Yin Talks, and this time we're going to be taking a look back at the nullsec metagame. The summer month typically see a drop in activity in EVE as people log off and spend more time in the real world enjoying the nice weather. However, this year this seems to have not been the case at all, with a grand total of 4 major areas of conflict that I want to take a look at today, on top of a few minor skirmishes that I'm sure I'm not aware of and will be reminded of in the comments below. Right now, the largest and most well-known war is currently known under the tentative name of the Northern War, and has resulted in action in Tribute, Tenal, and the Vale of the Silent. The second area of conflict is one which has been on a slow burn for some time, as Detorid, Wicked Creek, and Tenerifis have all seen battles related to the war, and as far as I'm aware it currently lacks a distinct name, and as such I won't attempt to give it one. Alongside these two block-level, multi-region spanning wars, we also have a pair of smaller hotspots that I wanted to cover in this episode, with the recently announced NPSI assault on Proviblock starting up and centering around the eponymous region of Providence, and the opportunistic hunters in Delve taking advantage of those used to the safety of peacetime in order to ply their piratical trade in the region. So the Northern War was intended to be launched, as is traditional for most Imperium actions, by a State of the Gunian address by the Mittani, which would allow them to both rally their troops and ensure that they had a large number of people online for any initial attack they wished to make against their enemies. However, in this case, PanFam was able to steal the initiative, using either spies or perhaps propaganda to preempt this State of the Gunian address by posting the expected invasion plans to Reddit, in order to blunt the impact that the State of the Gunian address would have, as well as disrupting any element of surprise that the Imperium might have been able to gain. This was then followed by the mass unanchoring of PanFam structures in Tribute, with the apparent intent of saving them by unanchoring them and storing them in lowsec in order to reduce both the potential number of targets that PanFam would be required to defend, and to reduce their potential losses as a result of the invasion, should the Imperium be successful in purging them from the region, as their costly infrastructure would already have been successfully evacuated. However, it should be noted that doing this does destroy the rigs that these structures have, so it's not without a cost unto itself. Despite their surprise being spoiled, however, the Imperium stuck to their original timelines, and war was officially declared on Saturday the 18th of May. Thankfully, the Imperium makes its State of the Union addresses public, so we can listen to a small excerpt of that now.
So what is that? What exactly is it that we're up to? We are going to burn Jin'taan. We are going to glass Tribute. We will see if some other regions end up getting torched as well. And our objective today is going to be to get everyone staged up north. There are going to be a lot of ops as we do this. Jin'taan is the primary target. We will not follow them into the drone regions if they retreat. And we need to talk about expectations and the right attitude to bring to this war.
If you would like to listen to that speech in full, there will be a link in the description below, as well as all of my other sources that I have used to collate this video. Following the announcement of a full deployment by the Imperium, it seemed as though PanFam decided to adopt a strategy of reactive defense, redeploying and concentrating their forces in SH1 and attacking these smaller reinforcing fleets of the Imperium to disrupt them. This involved bringing up Pandemic Horde from Geminate, and retreating from the traditional capital system of Tribute, which is MTAC-0, in order to make a stand deeper in PanFam-owned territory. This concentration of force has led to some victories in the field, with PanFam being able to successfully defend the iHub in this new staging system. iHubs are as crucial as ever before to nullsec warfare, as ownership of them determines whether or not one can place Tenebrex structures into the system, and Tenebrex structures are a new addition to the game, which replaces the previously discussed Sino-jamming system which was based around POSs, bringing this in line with the rest of the game into the Citadel model. However, this focus on one area of space has not been without consequences, as it left Tenal relatively undefended, a fact that Deadco, PanFam's northern neighbours, were able to exploit, pushing forwards and taking the half of the region that they had not previously owned under their own control. Their relatively uncontested push, flipping multiple iHubs, led to a surrender from the renters who lived in the region, with their structures being transferred to Deadco members and accepting new renting contracts with the newly moved-in coalition. Currently, the next major flashpoint wherein a fight is expected to go down is the battle over the final timer for the MTAC-0 Keepstar, which will come out of its final reinforcement cycle on Tuesday at 07:15 UTC. And even if this particular objective does not serve as the flashpoint for some form of fight, there are multiple other structures coming out during that day, such as the Citadel in OTAC-Y. This makes it likely, in my opinion, that we'll at the very least see a basic harassment fleet from PanFam as they attempt to contest the Imperium advance into the region of Tribute. As mentioned in the introduction, however, this isn't the only war that's currently going on in EVE Online, with another one taking place on the opposite side of the map in the southeast. This war really heated up after an announcement by Legacy Coalition that they were declaring war on Winter Coalition, and this was released to the public on April the 4th, although it's sadly no longer publicly available for us to quote from. Reporting at the time indicates that the reasons given for this war are actually quite varied, with tensions having notably escalated since a premature end to the non-invasion pact that both parties had signed in the conclusion to their previous war, alongside Fraternity Dot's cooperation with Pandemic Horde in attacking the Test Alliance Please Ignore Keepstar in HiSec, which Legacy Coalition profits from. The FI.RE coalition, an effective reformation of some of the entities that were previously a part of the DRF before its collapse in the wake of the Blue Donut War, are a co-belligerent to Legacy Coalition, although their hostilities with Winter Coalition spread back to before the declaration of this war between Legacy and Winter Coalition. As noted in ProGod Legends' original address, time zone issues have seemed to play a large part in stalling out the war, as the predominantly USTZ and EUTZ focused Legacy Coalition has been seemingly unable to bring their normal numbers advantage to bear, and has lacked content creators in the time zone of the timers that Fraternity Dot structures were set to become vulnerable at after their initial reinforcement. This has resulted in some of the smaller fights that the two coalitions would normally engage in escalating significantly, with raw core defences often becoming quick and bitter fights that are the subject of much escalation. A great example of this is the engagement that both sides held on June the 3rd, which saw a clash between a hunting Goku fleet from Legacy and Munins formed in a home defense fleet by Winter Coalition. As you can see, the fight only lasted 20 minutes as the Legacy Coalition fleet attempted to kill a raw core that they had tackled, before being forced to engage the reaction fleet from Fraternity, eventually being forced to retreat from the engagement and taking losses as they did so. One of the recent larger fights in this war that I've been able to get details of is the fight that took place in DX TAC DFJ, where Legacy Coalition and Winter Coalition came to blows over some Fortizars that Legacy was attempting to online in the system, in order to expand their capital umbrella further into the Torrid. During this fight, a segment of the Legacy Coalition's capital fleet was isolated and killed by the defenders, leading to the loss of roughly 50 billion ISK, and the destruction of 2 of the 4 Fortizars that were being anchored in the system. So both sides have been able to claim some sort of win out of this fight, with Legacy succeeding in their stated strategic objective, whilst Winter Coalition was able to inflict significant losses to their opponents in doing so. With Legacy Coalition increasing the size of their Chinese player base by recruiting the army of Mangoes Corporation, which transferred from the Chinese server to the Tranquility server, we may see this war heat up in the near future, as Legacy will have more people active in the time zones that's necessary for them to contest Fraternity's defensive control over the region as they occupy. Or, alternatively, we may see Winter Coalition mount some form of counterattack and hit Immensea or Tenerifis. For now, however, I won't speculate and I will wait and see what plays out. The next war that we're going to cover is on a much smaller scope than the previous two, with the regional powers of Spectre Fleet and Wrecking Crew aligning themselves together to fight with Proviblock, who regained control of the region following Legacy Coalition's eviction of PanFam, which follows on from my own campaign in Providence, which you can learn about if you click the card up in the top right. The most recent political announcement with regards to this came from Spectre Fleet's internal communications platforms and also on Reddit, wherein they declared their intention to attack Providence as a result of their LRDS beliefs, and most likely with a significant subtext of trying to generate context for their line members. This announcement comes on the tail of previous engagements between Wrecking Crew and Proviblock, such as the clash over Wrecking Crew Fortizar on the 4th of May, which saw the involvement of both Legacy and Pandemic Horde, supporting Proviblock and Wrecking Crew respectively. For now, the conflict seems to be primarily focused around structure timers, with Proviblock being able to hold the field and secure a combat and strategic victory within the opening few rounds of fighting, such as the engagement between the two recently over a structure timer in North Providence, which led to a Proviblock Munin fleet inflicting significant damages on an NPSI Harbinger fleet and a Wrecking Crew Healer fleet. For now, the conflict seems to be in the opening stages, as both sides attempt to find an objective and a time zone to centre their attentions around. As such, it will likely be some time before the true balance of power between these two forces is understood. The last area of action that I wanted to focus on is not technically a part of any war, although it is somewhat politically connected to the Northern War, as various neutral entities and Pan-Fam allies use the opportunity of an absent supercapital umbrella to pick off those still farming in the region. The primary tactic that these groups appear to be using is dread bombs, which, absent the constant stream of fax reinforcements previously seen in Delve, can effectively decimate supercarriers and rorquals, as seen in the battle report shown on your screen here, where a small group of 30 people were able to kill 100 billion ISK worth of ships, with minimal losses. As of now, it seems unclear what impact this will have on the Imperium, if any, but it at least serves as a source of positive news for the Pan-Fam side of the conflict in the north, as any Imperium losses can do nothing but benefit them in the long term. If you've gotten this far, thank you very much for watching the video. I hope you've enjoyed it. This is a little bit of a different take than my previous nullsec coverage, as I tried to make a more zoomed out look at some of the bigger plays that have taken place and over a longer timescale than my weekly coverage that I'd previously done. If this is something that you enjoy and want to see more of, let me know in the comments below. Also, if you have any criticism or suggestions for improvements that you'd like to see in videos like this, feel free to jump on my Discord and let me know. I'm always looking for more constructive criticism as to what to do better. With all that said, fly smart, and I'll see you next week. Don't forget to subscribe.